Hello, and welcome to another exciting segment of Tales of Courage and Kindness. I am your lovely host, Miss Disney, and here with me is Prince Disney. Say hi. We're gonna be reading. We're gonna be reading a story together. We're gonna be reading about Tiana. Now, as you all know, Tiana is a visionary who learned from her father the joy of sharing good food with others. She believes the only way to get what you want in this world is through hard work. And I think that's partially true. She is focused and driven to achieve her goals. But when she was accidentally turned into a frog, Tiana learned that love is just as important as hard work. Now, as a princess, Tiana lives with her husband, Prince Naveen, and runs her very own restaurant, Tiana's Palace. And in today's story, we are reading Daddy's Front Porch. Daddy's Front Porch. Oh, you want to get down? Okay. Go ahead. Go play, Prince Disney. It is written by Kelly Starling Lyons and illustrated by Tara N. Whittaker. Princess Tiana walked onto the rooftop of her restaurant and gazed at Evangeline, the evening star, shimmering in the satin sky. When she was little, her daddy told her to believe in the power of wishing, but to always remember to put effort into making her dream come true. "Isn't she beautiful?" Tiana said as her husband, Prince Naveen, joined her. "Yes," he said, looking into Tiana's eyes. "She is." Tiana smiled at Naveen. She wished her daddy could have met him. He had passed away before so many amazing things happened in her life. She still couldn't believe she had been turned into a frog, married Naveen, and become a princess. And then there was the restaurant she'd opened in honor of her father. It had always been her daddy's dream that they would open a restaurant together. Transforming a beat-up sugar mill into a place for good food and good company was a vision they had passed from his heart to hers. Naveen had helped her change that falling-apart building into Tiana's Palace, known for miles around. People lined up to get a taste of her daddy's famous gumbo and her mouth-watering beignets. I've actually tried them. They're really awesome. I want to add it. He would have been so proud. Yeah, beignets are good. Tiana had been thinking a lot about her daddy, like she did every year around his birthday. "I want to do something extra special to honor Daddy this year," she said. "Achi danza," Naveen said in his native Macedonian. "That's a great idea. Count on me to help out." But what should she do? The next morning, Tiana was on a mission. When she set her mind to something, watch out. Her daddy's birthday was only a week away. She had to come up with something just right. Tiana knew exactly where to go first, to visit her mama, Eudora. As she entered her childhood home, Tiana marveled at the ruby gown her mom was making. In her hands, tulle, lace, and ribbons were more powerful than a magic wand. She was the best seamstress in all of New Orleans. "Mama," Tiana said, kissing her on the cheek, "you outdid yourself. The First Lady and the Queen of Maldonia would be jealous." "Aw, thank you, honey," she said, "but you didn't come all this way to compliment this dress. What's on your mind?" Tiana picked up the picture of her daddy in his army uniform that sat on her mom's table. His distinguished service cross for heroism during the Great War lay nearby. "Daddy's birthday's coming up. I want to do something that shows people who he was." "You honor him and me every day," her mother said, "by just being you." "I know, Mama," she said, "but I want to do something. You remember how Daddy used to give us presents on his birthday? He would insist on making gumbo and inviting everyone over to share. He would eat on the front porch and laugh. He gave to others all his life. He deserves a tribute to him." "Yes, your father, James, was a good man. I won't try to talk you out of it. Lord knows you're hard-headed just like him, she said, chuckling. You won't stop until you make it happen. Tiana left her mom's feeling good, but just as unsure about what to do, on her way back to her restaurant, she saw a man and a woman who were asking people for money to buy lunch. Their faces were pale, their clothes were old and torn. It hurt Tiana that they were hungry. Her daddy had always said a pot of gumbo does more than fill your stomach. It fills your heart with love. I'm Tiana, she said. What are your names? I'm Flor, the woman said, and this is my husband, Jean. We fell on hard times and could use a little help getting back up. Y'all come into the palace, Tiana said, and get something to eat. Don't worry about paying, the meal is on me. They looked at each other like they weren't sure she was serious. Then they followed her inside. Their eyes bugged as they took in the arched ceiling and grand chandelier. They stared up at the skylight and gaped at the intricate designs of the wrought iron balconies. They admired the tables covered with linens that looked like lily pads. Make sure Flor and Jean get whatever they want, Tiana told Naveen, who welcomed everyone as they arrived. She winked at them. Ever since Tiana had opened her restaurant, she made sure to look out for people who didn't have as much as she did. If someone wanted to eat, she would accept whatever they could pay and give out food for free to those who couldn't. Yeah. Tia, called her best friend Charlotte LaBeouf as Tiana entered the main dining room. Tia, didn't you hear me? Sorry, Lottie, she said, giving her a hug. I guess I was lost in my thoughts. I want to do something special to honor Daddy, but I don't know what to do. They sat together at a table. Charlotte stared into space like she was thinking through options. I know, Lottie squealed and took Tiana's hands in hers. Yeah, a celebration. My father loves those. That would be a great way to honor the memory of your daddy. Let's have a ball and name it after him. While Lottie chattered about silk gowns, dances, and fine china, Tiana thought about Daddy. He had loved bringing people together, but he didn't care about fanciness. He liked simplicity and sincerity more than fuss. Can't you see it, Tia? She said. Tia? Tiana noticed a man peering into the front window of her restaurant. Something about him looked familiar. Where did she see him from? Sorry, Lottie, she said, standing up and heading to the door. I'll be right back. Excuse me, sir, she said once outside. Do I know you? Are you Miss Tiana? He asked. I heard that James's little girl opened a restaurant. I had to come see it for myself. You knew my daddy? She asked with wide eyes. Sure did. Your daddy was something special, he said. I was in the war with him. He would give anyone the shirt off his back and lay down his life to keep others safe. As her eyes brimmed with tears, Tiana smiled. That was her daddy, and she remembered who this was. Mr. Larkin, the friend of her father she'd seen in so many pictures. Wasn't easy, he said. Just like now, some people only cared about the color of our skin. They didn't see us as heroes. But your daddy stood up for anyone who needed it. Tiana thought about that. She and Lottie were best friends, but not everybody liked that. Her restaurant was a magical place where all people could be together. But at most places, black and white people had to be separated. That was the law. Tiana hoped for a day when segregation and injustice would end. She wanted everyone to be treated equally, not just at a restaurant, but everywhere. Oh, you okay? And keep in mind, boys and girls, this took place in the 1920s. Segregation hasn't happened until the 60s, so we got a long ways away to make those changes. Or at least back then they did. "Won't you come inside?" she said. "I'd love to show you around." "Not today," he said, but it sure is good to see you. James talked so much about his wife and little daughter, who had a gift that gleamed brighter than a star. Feel like I already know you." Tiana thought about what Mr. Larkin had said as she walked back inside. "Who was that, Tia?" Charlotte asked. "A friend of my daddy's," replied Tiana. "That's nice," Charlotte said. "Now, what do you think about the ball?" "I don't know, Lottie," Tiana said, sighing. Daddy was humble. Not sure that fits who he was. Just then, Louis, the star of the band Firefly 5 plus Lou, came over. "Hey, Tiana. Hey, Charlotte," he said, flashing his toothy smile. Newcomers to Tiana's palace were always startled to see an alligator playing trumpet. But once he started to swing, they forgot all about that as toe tapping and finger snapping took over. "Y'all want to hear what I'm working on?" "Of course," Tiana said. His tail bouncing as he bopped, their friend played a solo that would put Louis Armstrong to shame. Lottie cheered and clapped. Tiana stood and gave the big alligator a hug. "Amazing," she said. "I'm trying to think of something special for my daddy's birthday. Got any ideas?" "Your daddy liked jazz, right?" Louis said. "How about a jam session in his name? The guys and I could play something special." "Did someone say jam?" Naveen said, walking up while strumming a ukulele. "Don't forget about me." Tiana smiled. Her daddy had loved music. Having Louis and Naveen play in his honor would be special. Maybe that could be it. "Thanks," she said. "I need to think it through." She hugged Lottie goodbye and headed for her cozy office. That's where she came up with new recipes and made plans for the future. She stared at the poster her daddy had created for the restaurant he hoped they'd open. She remembered when it was just a twinkle in his eyes. She wrote down the ideas her friends had shared for his birthday celebration. A ball, a concert. Did those show who her daddy was? Before she knew it, evening covered the French Quarter like a blanket. It was time to get ready for bed. In her room, Tiana paced, her mind still racing. She needed some air. She walked up to the rooftop, the city of New Orleans sparkling below her. She stared again at Evangeline, glittering like a beacon. Next to Evangeline was her dear friend Ray's star. Tiana closed her eyes and made a wish. "Please help me think of something special for Daddy's birthday," she said. Tiana opened her eyes and took a long last look at the twinkling stars before returning to her room and turning in. No sooner had she fallen asleep than a flickering light appeared, waking her. "Naveen," she said sheepily, "did you leave the light on?" "You got a light inside, Cher," someone said. "You just gotta let it lead you." Tiana sat up straight. She knew that voice. She looked around and saw Ray, her firefly friend from the bayou, circling her head. She loved seeing his face again. "Me and Evangeline heard your wish, but you got all you need right there," he said, landing near her heart and shining bright. Tiana thought about her daddy saying that good food brings people together and makes their hearts glow just like Ray was showing her. She could almost hear his voice, telling her to never forget what's most important. When she woke up the next morning, she realized Ray hadn't really visited her. It had all been a dream. But a name blazed in her head like a sign trimmed with lights. Daddy's front porch. That had been a place full of love and laughter. She remembered how a pot of gumbo and a place together had brought everyone together in hard times. And good. No one had gone without food when her daddy was around. She had her idea. It would be a lot of fun. Tiana would need everyone to pitch in, but they could do it. She hopped out of bed, ready for the challenge. Tiana could already see her dream taking shape. Along with being the best seamstress around, Eudora was the manager of Tiana's palace. Tiana couldn't wait to tell her the news. "What are you doing?" "Mama," she said when she saw her, "I know how to honor Daddy." Her mother stretched out her arms and wrapped her in a hug. "That doesn't surprise me one bit." Tiana filled... What is it? What? Ah, you're pushing me? Tiana filled in her mama and Naveen. Then she asked Lottie, Louis, and members of her staff to come to a planning meeting at the restaurant. She looked at everyone gathered at the tables and smiled. Bringing people together was what her daddy had been all about. Having them help with the tribute would celebrate who he was. "Ah, you got my hair!" "Thanks, y'all, for being here," Tiana said. "My daddy had a heart for helping whoever needed it. That's the spirit I want to show on his birthday. We're going to open our doors each week and invite everyone to eat for free. I'm going to call it Daddy's Front Porch." Tiana's palace didn't have a front porch like her childhood home, but Tiana knew how to recreate the feeling. People could walk right in, no reservation needed, no bill to pay. Laughter would ring as forks and spoons sang. Rifts of friendship would float in the air, and Daddy's front porch wouldn't just offer food, it would spread hope. If anyone had extra clothes or food, they could share it with others. As everyone clapped, Tiana's mama nodded and wiped a tear from her eye. Tiana knew how she felt without Eudora saying a word. "Oh, Tia," Lottie said. "This is just the most special thing I have ever heard. Sign me up for the decorations." "Me too," Tiana's mother said. "You know we gotta have music," Louis said, flashing his toothy grin and tapping out a beat with his foot. "Yeah," Naveen said. "I can help with that." "The food is the most important part," Tiana said, looking at her chefs. They promised the dishes would be the best they'd ever made. Tiana beamed. It was all coming together. On the big day, Tiana could hardly stand still. She paced around the restaurant, making sure everything was ready. Her stomach fluttered like the day Tiana's palace had just first opened. She stood in the center of the ballroom and admired the big picture of Daddy that Lottie and Mama had set up near the stage. If only he could be here to see this. Tiana stepped outside and smiled at the sign whose glowing letters spelled out Daddy's Front Porch, just like in her dream. But it was missing something. Tiana stared. What did it need? Then it came to her. She raced to the kitchen and got her daddy's gumbo pot. She lined it with paper and put it right by the sign. That would be a way for people to leave donations if they wanted to help others who needed it. Finally, it was time to start the celebration. She gathered everyone together to thank them for making this happen. Naveen kissed her cheek. "Everything will be perfect," he said. Tiana took a breath and beamed her brightest smile. Lottie blew her a kiss. "Okay, everyone," she said. "Showtime!" Fleur and Jean were the first ones inside. Yeah. A stream of people flowed in behind them, old and young, black and white. Some had never been to a place like this. Lights lit up the room like fireflies. After being escorted to their tables, guests were told to order anything they wish. Gumbo, utofe, beignets, all on the house. Flora walked up to Tiana. "You helped us when we needed it," she said. "Now look at you, shining on our whole city. Count on us to pitch in any way you need." Tiana hugged her. This moment was bigger than her or her daddy. It was the start of something magical for the community. As everyone ate and talked, Louis and Naveen got the joint jumping. Jazz and joy swirling all around. Tiana's mama had never smiled so much. Tiana sensed someone looking at her and turned around. It was Mr. Larkin. "You came back," she said, giving him a hug. "Thank you." "You did good, Tiana," he said. "I know James is proud of you, and so am I." Her eyes filled with tears. Tiana walked to the stage and tried to find the words to express what was in her heart. "I want to thank everybody for coming," she said. "Today we celebrate the life of a man I am honored to call my daddy. He gave a hand to anyone who needed one. We're going to keep his spirit alive. Daddy's front porch is going to be once every week, a day when no one pays to eat at Tiana's palace." The crowd cheered. Naveen smiled at his wife. Tiana felt something electric race through her heart. Even if she couldn't see him, she knew Daddy was there. Tiana slipped away to her bedroom to have a moment to herself. Through her window, she saw Evangeline shining in the ebony night, and knew she had something to do. Tiana stepped onto the rooftop to say thank you. As she did, another star lit up beside Evangeline. She knew that was Ray, her heart filled with love. "Thank you, Evangeline and Ray," she whispered as she closed her eyes. "Tiana," Naveen said, walking up behind her and putting his hands on her shoulders. "Look!" When she opened her eyes, she saw a third star glowing near the other two. Its brilliance made her think of big dreams and sparkling eyes. Tiana could almost hear a booming laugh and deep voice saying she'd done all right. She wiped away the tear that rolled down her cheek and smiled. "Happy birthday, Daddy," Tiana said, laying her head on Naveen's shoulder. Now that was a wonderful story about Tiana and how she showed respect and kindness in allowing others to come into her restaurant. She provided an opportunity for her community to have what they need. She didn't focus on cost. She didn't care who they were. If someone needed food or clothes, she was willing to lend a hand. And that just shows that Tiana is ambitious, hopeful, self-reliant, focused, resilient, and hard-working. Her dream, of course, is to open her own restaurant, which she did achieve. And her heroic moment, braving the bayou to break the Shadows Man's curse with her trusty sidekick Ray. And her famous quote, "The only way to get what you want in this world is through hard work." So, I have a question for you. How can you help your community? Leave your comment on the comments below. Hit like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Remember, show kindness, respect, and love, and also always be courageous. Bye, guys. Say bye, Prince Disney. Can you wave bye-bye? There you go. Bye, y'all.